Imagine a Sunday night, Game 7, all or nothing. The Golden State Warriors are on the court, trying to keep alive the last breath of a legendary generation. Curry, exhausted, and Draymond, doing what he can. And then, who steals the spotlight? A face that was never fully embraced. Buddy Hield, the same player who spent much of the season being questioned, doubted, and even ignored by part of fan base. But on that night, with the entire season hanging by a thread, he decided to take center stage. 33 points, 9 three-pointers made out of 11 attempts, one of the most efficient playoff performances in recent Warriors history. It wasn't a storyline anyone predicted, but it was the one that happened. Still, like every good dramatic NBA script, the magic of that moment didn't last long. And now, as the offseason gains momentum, what looked like a rebirth could turn into a final chapter. And the inevitable question arises, what will Buddy Hield's role be with the Golden State Warriors moving forward? That's the story we're going to tell in this video. Not just about a magical playoff performance, but about a player living on the edge of a coach's trust and the fans' patience. A player who might be at the center of a quiet rebuild, as the Warriors push for one last run before the Curry era comes to an end. And what seems like just a minor rotation dilemma is, in fact, a reflection of a much bigger transition happening behind the scenes in San Francisco. To understand Buddy Hield's current situation with the Warriors, you have to look beyond stats, beyond highlights, and even beyond the excitement of a Game 7, because the regular season was long, very long. And during that stretch, Hield had plenty of time to show who he really is, with all his strengths and limitations. He arrived in Golden State with a reputation of being one of the best shooters in the NBA, and not by chance. Throughout his career, he's posted consistently strong three-point shooting numbers, always a threat from deep. But in Golden State, that reliability wavered. Hield started strong, looked like a great fit in Steve Kerr's system, making the most of space created by Curry and Clay's off-ball movement. But the magic didn't last. Starting in December, his efficiency dropped, despite still playing at a high level from the field, and hovered around 35% from three. Numbers that, for a player whose specialty is long-range shooting, are concerning. And yet, Steve Kerr continued to trust him. That trust, for many fans, became a source of frustration. Why was a clearly underperforming player still getting key minutes? And more importantly, why keep insisting on Hield of his defense? Another weak point. Wasn't helping either? The answer may lie in what doesn't show up in the box score. Buddy Hield was the only Warriors player to appear in all 82 games of the regular season. On a team plagued by injuries, physical inconsistencies, and an irregular schedule, he was the one constant presence. Every night, always available, always ready. That kind of dependability, even if statistically underwhelming, carries significant symbolic and practical weight for coaches like Kerr. He's the type of player who, even when he's off, is still out there, trying, filling his role, moving without the ball. And that explains why he kept getting minutes, even during the darkest stretches of the season. But the NBA isn't about who's always there. It's about who makes the difference when it matters most. And the irony of this story is that Hield, after a season full of criticism, was the one who stepped up when the team needed a hero. He became the unexpected savior. The Game 7 win over the Houston Rockets wasn't just a magical night for fans. It was also Steve Kerr's quiet "I told you so" to those who doubted number 24. Hield followed that up with another key performance in Game 1 against the Timberwolves, proving the hot streak wasn't fluke. But even that playoff spark wasn't enough to erase the doubts hovering over his future. Then came the offseason, and with it, the rumors. The Warriors are expected to meet with D'Anthony Melton, a 27-year-old guard known for his intense defense and tactical versatility. A player who, when healthy, could fill exactly the role Hield held in recent months. Melton doesn't have the same offensive volume, but he brings something the Warriors desperately lacked during the season: consistent perimeter defense. There's also mutual interest between the Warriors and Seth Curry, who shot 45.6% from three last season with the Charlotte Hornets. Yes, Seth is Steph's brother. But beyond that, he's a reliable, efficient veteran, and most importantly, affordable. All of this puts Buddy Hield in an uncomfortable position. He's entering the second year of a $9.2 million contract. For a team already facing salary cap constraints, that's not a negligible amount, especially with rising young talents and veterans on long-term deals. If it's possible to sign Melton or Seth Curry for similar or even lower amounts, and they offer a better tactical fit, what's the real justification for keeping Hield in a prominent role? And we can't forget about Brandon Podziemski. The young guard earned his spot with mature performances, refined court vision, and a quiet yet consistent impact. He doesn't need the ball to be effective. He positions himself well, has high basketball IQ, and brings energy on defense. Podziemski represents everything the Warriors are trying to build: youth, intelligence, versatility, and affordability. In this new landscape, Hield may be more of a luxury than a necessity. But Buddy Hield isn't just a name on a payroll. He has a story, one of the most remarkable among international players in the NBA. Born in Freeport, Bahamas, he grew up in extreme poverty. His childhood was marked by hardship. He practiced with makeshift balls, played on dirt courts, and wore torn shoes. But his talent was undeniable, and his dedication even more so. He earned a scholarship to the U.S., shined at the University of Oklahoma, and against all odds, became one of the NBA's top shooters. That journey shaped a disciplined, relentless athlete. And perhaps that's what stands out the most about his presence. His ability to always be ready, even when the whole world doubts him. Steve Kerr, who has coached stars, complex personalities, and basketball geniuses, might see something in Buddy that goes beyond the box score. A kind of commitment that can't be taught, that can't be measured, but that can be felt. The question is that enough to keep him on a team that urgently needs a refresh? Because even with the playoff heroics, the numbers don't lie. Buddy Hield was an average efficiency player for most of the season. He had flashes, yes, but also deep production slumps. And the Warriors, with Curry still playing at an elite level, can't afford to waste minutes on gambles. Every rotation counts. Every possession matters. And this obsession with efficiency is becoming more and more ingrained behind the scenes in the franchise. Analysts have already started weighing in. Marcus Thompson of The Athletic sees Hield as someone who can still contribute, but in a much smaller role. Tim Kawakami, also of The Athletic, is more direct. In his view, the Warriors' pursuit of Melton and Seth Curry makes it clear they're seriously considering phasing Hield out of the rotation. As always, the fan base is divided. Some still live the emotion of Game 7 and don't want to let go of a player who delivered when they needed it most. Others are tired of the roller coaster. They want stability, defense, progress. And the truth is, both sides have a point. Hield represents a classic dilemma in today's NBA. A player who can be lethal one night and invisible the next. Talented, but inconsistent. Flashy in highlights. Frustrating in the margins. And in this ultra-competitive environment where title windows close fast, that can be fatal. So what should the Warriors do? Keep Buddy Hield as a situational backup, giving him 12 to 15 minutes a game? Trade him in a package involving draft picks or a young prospect? Or simply retain him as an emotional safety net for Kerr and a potential savior in chaotic games? The answer may not come right away. It might depend on how negotiations with Melton and Seth Curry unfold. It might hinge on Podziemski's development in training camp, or even on an unexpected injury. But one thing is certain, the margin for error is shrinking fast. And so is the patience with inconsistent veterans. To sum it all up, Buddy Hield was the unlikely hero of the Warriors' most important game of the season, but he was also a symbol of an uneven year, full of frustrations and constant doubts. He's entering year 2 of a $9.2 million contract and can be overtaken in the rotation by Melton, Seth Curry, or even Brandon Podziemski. His emotional value is high, his story is inspiring, but in the cold calculations of the NBA, the future is ruthless. If he stays, it will be with fewer minutes, less leeway, less room for error. If he's traded, it'll be for someone who brings better tactical balance. And if he's kept as is, it'll be purely out of trust, something that's becoming increasingly rare in today's Warriors. So here's the question that won't go away. Do you think Buddy Hield still has a place on this team? Or is it time to turn the page and invest in new pieces? Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about this situation. Do you enjoy this kind of deep analysis? The Golden State Warriors offseason is in a critical and quietly nerve-wracking phase. While the basketball world turns its attention to headline-grabbing moves involving superstars and blockbuster trades, the Warriors front office finds itself stuck in a deadlock that, at first glance, may seem minor. But it's not. A combination of factors, the possible retirement of Al Horford, the unresolved contract situation of Jonathan Kuminga, and the recent departure of Kevin Looney to the New Orleans Pelicans, has created a strategic void in the team's front court. A void that must be filled with surgical precision if Golden State hopes to return to legitimate title contention. And at the heart of this puzzle, one name is gaining traction: Chris Boucher. The idea of bringing in Horford isn't new. Since Looney said his goodbyes to San Francisco, the 39-year-old veteran has been viewed as the safest and most experienced solution to maintain defensive stability. His basketball IQ, quiet leadership, and ability to anchor a playoff defense remain valuable assets, even at his advanced age. However, according to behind-the-scenes reports, Horford is still considering retirement, and his hesitation to commit to the Warriors has left the front office in a holding pattern. The problem is, that holding pattern is being increasingly strained by the Kuminga situation. Jonathan Kuminga, the 21-year-old forward, has yet to sign his extension, turning his contract situation into a bottleneck. According to Clutch Points reporter Brett Siegel, the stalemate with Kuminga is the main reason no other moves, including Horford or any potential replacement, have been finalized. The main reason why Horford and Melton or any other player have yet to sign with the Warriors is because of Kuminga's holdout, Siegel stated, highlighting how the front office is tied to a script that lacks a definite conclusion. This waiting game, however, has an expiration date. The Warriors know that if Horford decides to hang up his sneakers, represents a short-term and chooses to sign elsewhere, they can no longer afford to remain passive. That's why names like Chris Boucher and Trey Lyles are now under more serious consideration, especially Boucher, who, despite lacking Horford's media appeal, may actually be a better fit for Golden State's system. offensively versatile and agile. At 32 years old and standing 6 feet 9 inches, Chris Boucher is the blueprint for the modern NBA big man. He can space the floor, shoot threes consistently, and even put the ball on the floor when needed. He brings a different dynamic than Horford. His numbers from last season back that up. 10 points per game, for 0.5 rebounds, nearly 4 3-point attempts per game, and 36.3% shooting from deep, his best career mark in that category. In short, he's become a legitimate perimeter threat, which can create valuable space for Curry, Clay, and yes, Kuminga, should he stay. The Warriors system has always relied on constant ball movement, spacing, and offensive fluidity. Boucher isn't a dominant rim protector or someone who will lock down the paint with elite interior defense, but his offensive presence could offset that by giving the Warriors a new layer of unpredictability. His ability to pull opposing bigs out to perimeter opens up driving lanes and disrupts rigid defensive schemes. Trey Lyles, on the other hand, represents a more conservative option. A 10-year NBA veteran with a solid reputation as a spot-up shooter, Lyles could be a useful complementary piece, but he's less versatile. He doesn't offer the same offensive volume or mobility that meshes so well with Golden State's DNA. Still, he remains on the radar as a viable secondary option if negotiations with Boucher stall or new complications arise. The bottom line is this: Golden State needs to move, but carefully. The Kuminga holdout isn't just a contract issue, it's symbolic. It represents the tension between past and future, the effort to preserve a championship core, while also creating space for a new generation. And as long as this remains unresolved, key decisions, like signing Horford or bringing in Boucher, stay on hold. If Horford announces his retirement in the coming days, which people close to him say is very much on the table, the Warriors will need to act fast. Boucher and Lyles are currently free agents, but they won't be available forever. The season is approaching, and with it comes the pressure to reestablish a team whose identity has weakened over the past 2 years. Golden State is no longer the untouchable dynasty it once was, and every decision from here on out must be made with tactical awareness and a long-term vision. This is a quiet crossroads, the kind that doesn't dominate off-season headlines but can directly shape the structure of an entire season. And in San Francisco, no one wants to watch the clock run out while ideal pieces slip through their fingers. The time to act is coming, and whether it's Horford, Boucher, or Lyles, the Warriors must fill this frontcourt void and restore the balance of a roster that, for now, has yet to find its new center of gravity.